Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Marketing Global Edition with me, Jasmine Montgomery.
And me, Piers 𝐒𝐲.
It's quite a special one this week, isn't it?
Well, special to us, but I'm not sure if the viewers or listeners will find it special at all.
Party pooper. So basically, this podcast marks the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. We started a year ago, Piers, Adam, James, 𝐒𝐲, which I think is very exciting.
I know you find it exciting, I find it exciting, but I don't think anyone else, again, listening, will be popping any champagne corks.
Well, bar humbug to them, miserable lot. I bet they are. I have more faith in our listeners than you do, Piers. I bet they're cheering us on. But whether or not they are, this brings us to the subject of the day, namely brand anniversaries. Does anyone actually give a flying fig about them?
Yeah, so we're going to explore the theme of brand birthdays and ask the question, are they actually relevant? And have they ever made a tangible difference to a company's bottom line?
I guess we should be clear on what we mean. So we mean these, anniversaries. But I guess I'm getting some pretty negative vibes from you already, 𝐒𝐲. Do you want to state your case?
Yes, I will. You're right. Yeah, I mean, I think over the years, we've had many briefs from clients asking us to do a campaign for a 10th anniversary or a 5th year or a 20th year. And they're really excited about it. I'm not sure about customers, but anyway, I just see our designers struggling to think of an interesting way in which they can reinterpret the number 5, as an example, in the context of their product or the brand guidelines, in some way of making it look really different from all the other 5-year campaigns out there. And I don't really, it's a bit internal navel gazing, personally, I feel.
So you don't feel that there's a certain amount of internal pride in having flourished or at least survived for that long? I, for one, am very proud that we have been doing this podcast for a year. Did you know, by the way, that most podcasts fail within their first few months due to a phenomenon called pod fade, which is where people start to do a podcast with lots of enthusiasm and then they just fade out and forget to bother. So some sources indicating that up to 90% don't make it past 3 episodes, and about 75% quit within 3 months or before releasing 20 episodes. And a common time frame for this pod fade is estimated to be around 6 months, with an average podcast lifespan sometimes cited at approximately 174 days. So we have beat the odds, 𝐒𝐲.
Okay, so you and I might be quite proud of that, which I am actually, but it is a party for 2, Jasmine. No one else cares.
Woohoo!
If we start flooding social media with ads saying, hey, we've done our 1-year anniversary and spent ages crafting the one, I don't think anyone will care.
Your wife will, surely.
And she really, really won't, actually. It's a year. Give it 30, 40, 50 years and she'll get excited.
Oh, dear. But what about if we go to... Yeah, no, of course. And she's a wonderful supporter of ours. But even she would have the perspective, I know, of it's only been a year. Okay, but what about if we go to the other end of the spectrum? So last week, some crazy person was kind enough to invite me to a dinner at one of the livery companies here in London. If you're British, you know about these livery companies. You get the freedom of the city. Really fabulous old organizations with an incredible heritage. And the one to which I was invited was an organization that was created in the year 1348. Don't you think that they might, in the year 2048, have cause to celebrate their 700th anniversary?
Well, yeah, true, right. But how many companies are that old, right? They're not. Most are spending lots of money making a big fuss about something that's just not relevant to their brand promise to their consumers.
I don't know. I mean, I think when we do a brand valuation, where we value a brand and put it on the balance sheet, one of the things that gives a higher brand valuation, makes a brand worth more, in addition to things like geographical distribution, brand awareness, is time in market, is longevity. So doesn't it say something important about the trust you can have in a brand if it's been around a long time?
But consumers don't buy stuff because of its age, unless it's wine or maybe cheese. But actually, in some think about the tech sector, yeah, it could be a sign of being old news, actually, if you start saying, look, we're really old, we're in tech.
Okay, I see that. But is there any research to support the idea that consumers don't care about brand anniversary campaigns?
Well, Jasmine, it's funny you mention that and ask.
Go on
There
then.
is research from Kantar, Ipsos, and Ehrenberg Bass Institute shows that anniversary alone does not create incremental demand. It only works if it's a
Really?
hook for something genuinely newsworthy. And they cite things like product relaunch, price freeze, charitable act, retrospective exhibition, and new innovation. So things like that, so people buy brands for flavour or design and what it can do for them. Anniversaries have nothing to do with the core proposition of most products. I'm sorry.
Like what? Like bread or biscuits or something, perhaps?
Okay, so I feel you've done your research as well, actually. You're going to hit me with some really amazing case study of bread or biscuits of some spurious anniversary campaign. Yeah?
Yes, well spotted. I've got a bread example and a biscuit example. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I will preempt this by saying I think anniversary campaigns rarely work unless the brand
Uh-huh.
ties its birthday really strongly to the product or service.
I think I see a chink emerging in your wall of resistance.
Well, let me hear about your case study.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with a very smart cookie that some of you will have heard of called Oreo. So, a century after it launched, Oreo had become the world's best-selling cookie. But by 2012, it was facing this really classic problem. How do you make a 100-year-old snack feel fresh to a generation who are scrolling on their smartphones? And Mondelez, which owns Oreo, had decided that its centenary wouldn't be a single commercial or a nostalgia fest. So instead, they asked a really interesting question. They actually discovered that their best audience was millennials, and they thought they would engage them. So they asked a question: how can a cookie participate in today's culture every single day? And the answer became the Daily Twist campaign. And it's clever because, with an Oreo, you twist to eat it if you're, sensible. So starting on Oreo's 100th birthday in March 2012, for 100 consecutive days, the brand released a new, really fun, shareable image that sort of reimagined the Oreo cookie itself around whatever was happening in the world that day. So some examples: there was a rainbow stacked Oreo on the day of celebrating Pride. There was an Oreo shaped like a Mars rover for NASA's landing of the rover on Mars. There was Oreo as a birthday cake for the Rolling Stones' 50th anniversary, which happened to be on one of the 100 days. There was an Oreo for Shark Week, for the Olympics, for Bastille Day. So each one was really clean, really simple, really recognizably Oreo, but also gave a nod to the day's news and events, right? Or holiday or whatever. And they were super shareable on Facebook, Twitter, etc. And the campaign really culminated in a live finale in Times Square, where fans could vote in real time on the next twist and then watch the creative team build it on the spot. So it was really, really clever. And it turned a cookie brand into a real-time content studio, and it took a century of heritage and reframed it as we're still part of today's conversation.
Okay, yeah, but that definitely fits my rule of campaigns only work when they link the anniversary to the product, right? And then what they did, they matched the product's own mechanic, twisting open an Oreo with the idea of giving a new twist every day. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why yeah, definitely. I brought it to the table because I love bringing Oreos to the table, but this one, I think it played to how people actually consume media now. It was like the biscuit itself, it was small, visual, relevant, shareable. And it generated earned media, news outlets covered the rainbow Oreo, blogs debated which twist were the best. It was really fun.
yeah, the numbers reflected the buzz really well. There's millions of shares and likes. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I remember reading about it. A
Yeah,
really
yeah,
huge jump in Facebook followers. I think they added more than 1 million during the run. It was quite amazing
yeah.
actually, and a measurable lift in brand favorability among younger consumers.
Well remembered. I mean, absolutely. This was the engagement was incredible. So there was hundreds of millions. Some people put it at 200 million, some people 400 million Facebook views. There was a 280% increase in Facebook shares, a 500% increase in retweets on Twitter. The campaign got more than 1 million likes on Facebook, an average of 10,000 likes per post. I mean, it blew everyone's numbers out of the water.
Yeah, okay, that one did work, right?
Okay, good. Okay, I've got one cookie, but I've got a bread one too. A really great
All
bread
right,
one.
okay. Well, I think I might know who this might be. Is it Hovis?
Yes, well spotted, because they have a really famous one. I know it's another British example. I have to apologize to our American listeners here when I say that Britain is, after all, one of the few countries old enough to have brands that are actually really, truly old.
All right, well, let's avoid annoying the Americans. You're about to prove one other rule, which is that these campaigns only work when they are not a self-congratulatory party the company throws for itself, but a celebration from the customer's point of view.
Yes. So Hovis did this so brilliantly. So if you grew up in Britain, you probably know Hovis bread. It's just a bog standard, typical in your supermarket brand of bread. Kind of like, it's not as bad as Wonder Bread, but it's just a loaf of bread that you buy for your kids, right? So it's a little brown loaf in a paper bag in the old days. And there was an old advert from ages ago, like the 70s, of a boy pushing his bike up a cobbled hill to the strains of 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. And in that original ad, shot by then unknown Ridley Scott in 1973, that became one of the UK's most famous commercials, right, and ads, and it really embedded Hovis in the national psyche, kind of as a whole. It was very wholesome, nostalgic, really British. But by the late 2000s, Hovis was losing share to supermarket own label brands. It had history, but it didn't have momentum. It's like it had the past, but it didn't have the future baked in. And in 2008, it hit its 125th anniversary. And the brand team asked, what do we do? How do we make this a milestone to remind Britain what Hovis stands for, but in a way that felt really alive rather than dusty and felt really like, you know, from the customer's point of view? So the answer was a 2-minute, really epic ad, TVC ad called Go On Lad, very British phrase. And instead of remaking the old ad, which they had thought about doing, I think, they commissioned a lovely agency, MCBD, to tell a new story. So there's a little boy in a Hovis cap and shorts running home with a loaf, and he runs through 125 years of British history. And this could be naff, but it was done in such a beautiful way. So he starts in these Victorian streets, dashes past suffragettes, he runs past soldiers going to the Great War. He runs past evacuees going onto trains, bombed out London houses in World War II. He runs past girls in miniskirts in the swinging 60s. He runs past the miners striking in the 70s, the Millennium celebrations, and every scene shifts like really seamlessly, like a time lapse of the history of the nation. We even hear snippets of Churchill's "We will fight on the beaches" speech during World War II. And at the end, he bursts through his front door in contemporary Britain, out of breath, loaf intact, as his mum says, "Well done, lad," echoing the old ad's sentiment, but not its literal imagery. And if you're British, it probably made you cry the first time you saw it. So the strapline wasn't kind of, we're 125 years old, yay us. It was just simply Hovis bread showing you that they have been a part of your life for 125 years.
Yeah, it worked really well. It worked because it tapped into a national memory, really, but it retold it as a moving journey. Brilliant ads are brilliant at doing that. Not a museum piece. And it really celebrated everyday people and all these really key milestones in sort of British history. Yeah. And also, I think it really cleverly, subtly positioned Hovis as the bread for ordinary Britain across generations. And it is still a great ad.
Yeah, I mean, its effect was really dramatic. So, you know, what I'm looking for here is examples where they had a really, truly measurable effect, you know, and Hovis reportedly saw its market share rise by several points in the month after launch, and it, you know, with a reversal of decline. So it overtook Warburton's as a result, which is its main competitor, as a result of that ad. So it really reversed this decline. It restored emotional equity. Suddenly, Hovis was back in the public conversation, not just another brown loaf.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, an anniversary ad shouldn't be a birthday cake. Okay.
Or
it could be a piece of cultural story. Sorry.
Or a piece of bread.
Or a piece of bread. Yeah. It can be a piece of cultural storytelling, something that makes the brand's past feel like part of the audience's own past and present. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've done two really British ones, and perhaps that's because we're a country with, you know, lots of very old brands. But I wish I could think of a really good international one.
Well, I do. I have an American one.
Ooh,
I have the one from the world's most global brand.
Okay, that must be Coca-Cola.
Yeah, indeed. So, cast your mind back, 1915, back in the old days. Mm-hmm. Coca-Cola Company challenged glass
Can I just say, I can't cast my mind back. I wasn't alive, Guyla, in 1915. You make it sound like I was, and it's in living memory. Sorry, carry on.
Right. Okay. Go back to it. Right. 1915. Obviously, you weren't born yet, yeah? Coca-Cola company did something really interesting. They challenged glass makers to design a bottle for them. And they wanted it to be so distinctive, they said you could recognise it in the dark or if it was broken on the ground. That was their brief. It's a really cool brief, actually.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the result was the famous contour, yeah? The whole skirt bottle, the one everyone could sketch from memory, really. It's iconic, you know, it's fantastic. Anyway, fast forward 100 years to 2015, the bottle was turning 100, and Coca-Cola faced a classic dilemma. What shall we do? How can we mark a century of an object that everyone just takes for granted, right? As the bottle of Coke, isn't it? So their answer was something really interesting. They treated the bottle like a pop culture icon, not a packaging detail. So they rolled out a global campaign called Mashed Up Art, or Mash Up Art, they invited like artists, photographers, illustrators from all over the world to reinterpret the colour shape in their own style. And then they staged a museum exhibitions in Atlanta, Paris, Mexico City, showing the bottle's influence on design and music. They even released a coffee table book with images of the bottle in advertising over the decades. I mean, it was just this beginning of the celebration. In stores, I'm sort of sounding like I'm for it now. In stores, they ran limited edition glass and aluminium bottles featuring those famous art prints, and they even invited fans to share their own bottle designs on Instagram with a dedicated hashtag. So the brand's own channels pushed short films about the bottle's history and its links with moments like Marilyn Monroe holding one or Andy Warhol painting it. You know, they got in serious culture and sort of zeitgeist at the different times. So they reframed it. It wasn't packaging, it was culture. You weren't just buying a Coke, you were buying a piece of design history.
Yeah, amazing.
Ultimately, they did tracking. Their tracking showed a massive spike in brand love metrics among younger consumers who never even thought about the bottle design before. And the anniversary itself did become a platform for new creative assets, not just look backwards. So I'll go against a review there. But anyway, there you go.
I love that one. Well done. So have I changed your mind about anniversaries?
Well, I'm starting to. I have a couple of conditions. One, they work when they are tied with the product, yeah? So the case of Oreo twist, yeah?
Yeah.
By contrast, brands that simply run a, hey, we're 50 ad without sort of a consumer benefit, I just don't see the point beyond spending a lot of money to get some short-term awareness.
Okay, and you said you had 2 rules. What was your other rule?
The second, they can work if they come at the anniversary from the customer point of view. So, not the brand. So, like Hovis. Hovis did that really well.
Okay, well argued. I love your 2 rules. Although, listener, I think that I won that argument after all. But we'll definitely give Piers his rules. He loves a good rule. Okay, that's all we have time for. We will see you next week when we have a fabulous guest on the podcast, Dominic Graham from Deloitte, talking about how to market professional services firms.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully he'll talk about his trip to Everest, which I heard about, and it was fascinating.
Yeah, lovely chap. Don't miss him. Absolutely.
On that, actually, we're keen to interview more people on this podcast. So if there's anyone listening and they would like to come in as a guest, just let us know.
Yeah, do email me on jasmine.montgomery@sevenbrands.com if you would like to come on as a guest. Brilliant. And meanwhile, thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. See ya. Bye. Bye-bye.
Marketing Global Edition is sponsored by 𝐒𝐤𝐧𝐧𝐶, the ad generator for small businesses that serves you effective and affordable ads in seconds. And by 7 Brands, the international advertising and branding agency that has worked with clients around the world from Coca-Cola to Facebook.